Welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. This podcast is a production of Swaim Strategies, a consulting firm dedicated to nonprofit fundraising events. We're coming to you today from the studios of the AV department. Please welcome our hosts, Kristen Steele and Samantha Swaim.
Hello, and welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. Today, we're very excited to have a dear friend in studio. Joining us is the individual that I think is most involved with all things nonprofit. So joining us today is Bob Speltz. Bob is a board member, a donor, a committee member, a volunteer, a capital campaign chair, a board chair, a corporate sponsor, all things nonprofit. So we're going to talk all things nonprofit today. But first, let me introduce Bob to all of you. Bob Speltz is the Senior Director of Community and Public Relations for Standard Insurance Company, The Standard. He is responsible for all aspects of corporate community involvement, including the Standard's corporate giving program, the Standard Charitable Foundation, employee volunteerism, environmental sustainability, and public and media relations. Bob has a very deep connection to the nonprofit sector, not only as a regular sponsor through his work at The Standard, but as a board member, a board chair, a capital campaign chair, an event chair, a volunteer, a major donor, and a fundraiser for many causes throughout the region. Bob, welcome to the Fundraising Elevator.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you having me here today.
Well, I feel like there's probably no better person to be able to talk about the state of the sector, giving, what's happening, what you're experiencing, because you have a personal attachment to kind of each lens. So we're going to talk about all of those lenses. But first, you give so much to so many organizations. I want to start big picture. Tell us why you're so involved and why you do this work.
Well, I love that we're starting with this question, and I've thought a lot about it. And I would say over the years, it hasn't really changed much. I come back to year after year trying to be a great connector. Yeah. So connecting my company to great mission-driven causes and great volunteer opportunities for our employees, whether that's board service or a one-off volunteer opportunities for our employees to raise the level of their own philanthropy through our matching gift program, through service on boards. It's really about making good choices, building great partnerships that last a long time and have impact and really resonate with our people.
I feel like you walk the walk and talk the talk. Like Absolutely. Not only are you in that role for your corporation, but outside of your work, you're doing that work on your own too and having an impact. I think your work in the sector is immense. And I don't know that, I'm sure there are times where it feels like a lot, but I am grateful that you are so involved with so many causes because you leave a big impact when you're involved.
Thank you. I remember early on, I remember I was in college and studying English. And truthfully, I had no idea where my career would take me. And it was a summer internship that sort of introduced me to philanthropy, the world of organized philanthropy. And I remember hearing from people, find something you love to do and try and get paid for it. Mm-hmm. So I was lucky enough to make that happen at a pretty early age. And it's just been a great joy looking back over 30, 35 years, gulp. And
we're old, Bob.
Understanding the privilege, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we are getting older. The privilege that this work bestows on all of us who are in it, whether you're raising dollars or you're stewarding them through philanthropy.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's a great privilege.
Let's put on your corporate hat for a second, because I know that we have some nonprofit superheroes out there that want to understand from where you sit, what's the current state of corporate philanthropy?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question, and it's I think a really, with my career, I think I'm in the twilight of my career, right? The last sort of few years, and I think back to getting started in the early 90s, and so much has happened, and some has really changed. Yeah, some has changed, but also a lot has stayed the same in a way.
Yeah.
And I think I've got, what do I have here? I think six things that I'm really noticing. The first has been around a long time, but it's worth noting. Corporate philanthropy still really focuses on strategic alignment, and that is really aligning company giving with core values, with business goals, and stakeholder interests. I tell people, try to understand the social issues that are relevant to a business, and that is going to really help you understand who they are and what they're really trying to get after. We're still seeing lots of integration with CSR, and what I mean by that is that giving is just one piece of a set or a portfolio of behaviors that companies are engaging in. Sometimes it's called ESG.
Okay.
Sometimes it's called CSR or corporate responsibility. And we are also still seeing giving combined with other activities like sustainability or sustainable business practices.
I want to come back to that one.
Yes, absolutely. I think we're also seeing something I would call the rise of employee-led philanthropy. And what I mean by that are, programs that engage employees to give. So think matching gift programs. So we're seeing a lot of what I would call open choice giving programs, like the standards, where we'll match to any 501c3, we'll match to any accredited educational organization. You're seeing higher match ratios start to pop up.
Yep.
We have a 2-to-1 match ratio, up to $5,000 per employee per year, which is wonderful. There are other companies out there doing that. Some are doing even more. You're also seeing lower barriers for these programs, lower minimum matching gifts. Our minimum matching gift is $25. I've seen some companies matching their minimum is $1.
Yeah.
which
Amazing.
is fantastic. You're also seeing volunteer grants or dollars for doer programs come back in, which rewards an employee's volunteer hours with a cash gift from the company. Finally, you're seeing things like pro bono services and volunteer skills, skills-based volunteerism, which we'll get into a little bit. Last two things, I would say we're seeing a move away from kind of one-off sponsorships to longer-term, more strategic alliances.
Yeah.
In other words, relationships that last years. And when you're thinking about those, you're looking for mission alignment, obviously, hyper local partners. So if you really want to do something, we're in Portland right now, hyper local, focused right in the community where your employees live and work. And the last thing is also not a surprise, but the demand for return on investment or ROI.
Yeah.
And what I guess I would call impact data. Companies are, I think, overall asking for more information about how a gift or a grant is going to really make a difference and matter. And that shows up in a lot of different ways, really good storytelling by the nonprofit, frequent reporting, and also something I would call kind of risk management. So presenting yourself as a partner that is going to kind of walk a fairly non-controversial or non-polarizing path. And for a lot of companies, that's important right now.
Yeah. I want to go back to a couple of the things you talked about, because I think that in the sponsorship space, organizations don't always see the corporation as more than like a grant opportunity, like a grant application. And yet when you tap into the things you talked about, which is alignment and sort of alliance, I see organizations making bigger, deeper, broader, more impactful investments and that are beyond just like sponsoring a table or something like that. And so you mentioned that idea of corporate social responsibility. You also mentioned skills-based volunteering. How often are you looking to or partnering with an organization where they can ask, like, here's all the things that we're in need of, or what does like a partnership outside of just a sponsorship proposal or a grant application look like to tap into those other resources, whether it's with you or with other organizations?
Yeah, I think those conversations can happen up front at the very beginning of a relationship, but they do take time, sometimes 6 months, a year or more, to really understand each other.
Yeah.
There's a sort of courtship ritual that takes place. Purchasing or sponsoring a table is a kind of a quick entry point into an organization, but if a lot of it really happens through dialogue, mutual dialogue, and each organization or each entity saying, this is what I need to be successful, whether it's cash or exposure for your brand, opportunities for employees. And I think the advice I would have for those listening right now is to ask and be really thoughtful about how you engage partners. Ask those questions. And I think you can be blunt. I think you can be direct. I've sat down with many potential partners, and one of the first questions they ask is what's a successful partnership look like for the Standard?
Yeah.
And then there's usually a long pause, and then we just sort of dive in and talk about the 7 or 8 things that we're sort of really looking for. Some of it too is chemistry, right? It's the people you're talking to.
Yep.
Yeah.
The history you've had with that organization. We tend to, when we start partnerships, have them last a long time. You can talk to organizations in this area that have been in partnership with us for 3 or 4 decades.
Yeah.
Some even longer, which is absolutely crazy. But we tend to be a pretty loyal, consistent supporter with a lot of organizations. So it's harder for us to take on new partners because we have a pretty full dance card.
You do. You have a very full dance card.
Yep.
Well, I think the corporate social responsibility piece, as well as the skills-based volunteering, is interesting because I think so many of our organizations don't understand or see or know the opportunities to be able to identify, oh, you all have a marketing expert or a graphic designer on your team or printer in-house or a photographer on your team that we could engage with our needs. We have another partner here in the metropolitan area that has a big print house as a part of their office. And so they frequently will print like programs and signage for organizations. So I think that's sometimes something that folks don't think beyond. But when you're talking about like local and organizations tapping into their local market, there are some, especially rural communities, that have very tiny pools of resource that they can tap into that are potential sponsors. What advice do you have in like busy, crowded marketplace where like maybe 30 nonprofits are asking the same sponsor? How does a sponsor stand out? Like what is the way that they can sort of get that meeting that maybe a full dance card is preventing?
Yeah, I have a few things I think that folks should think about as they're competing, and it is kind of like the Hunger Games, right? People are racing.
It feels that way sometimes.
They're racing for those scarce materials.
Yeah.
The backpack, the axe, the bag of money.
Yeah.
Right.
The water bottle. Here's some things that kind of come to mind for me. I think aligning around mission and goals, trying to understand before you have that first conversation what the mission and goals of that company might be, understanding their business, being curious about their business when you're sitting down with them. Nothing makes my heart swoon more than being in a conversation and someone saying, well, I don't know much about your business. I read a little bit on your website, but can you talk about it?
Yeah.
What are some of the things you're really struggling with? How are you doing? What are some big goals? What are some big things happening in your organization? Believe it or not, I would say 1 out of 10 partners might bring that up.
Wow.
So it's that's almost always the first question.
It seems like such an easy starting place.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's just great, at the beginning of a conversation to just say, hey, what? And conversely, we will always ask, what's going on? Have you had any cuts in federal support? Are there some things you're really wrestling with? Catch us up on things. You have an executive director that might be a year old. How's that transition going?
Yeah.
We try to come into meetings understanding a little bit about what that potential partner or existing partner, what they might be going through, what their situation is.
Yeah.
So it's not just sort of cold. We're coming in cold. Yeah. And then we learned, their headquarters burned down a week ago.
Yeah.
Hopefully it didn't. But I think, being able to, in those conversations, demonstrate clear impact, talking about impact and ROI. And talking about evidence, there's some organizations that sit down and they've done a study, they've done some other work with an academic organization about the impacts of their program, and they're talking to us about that, or they might share it in advance of the meeting, which is really helpful and really interesting. I think talking to companies about how a potential partner can engage their employees.
Yep.
Right now, we're a remote first company, so the majority of our folks are not working in the office every day like I am. So we're looking for partnerships that can engage employees in recurring ways, one-off ways, as volunteers, as board members. That's a really important one for us. I always tell organizations really strive to build real relationships.
Yeah.
We're not really interested in relationships where we're hearing from somebody, once a year, and there's it's a deck, a sponsorship deck or a pitch deck. We love hearing periodic updates, phone calls. If you've got an electronic newsletter, we like periodic touches that aren't always associated with an ask. I think that's really important to do. Also, transparency. And transparency is a two-way street. So, that also means companies needing to be transparent about what's going on in their organization, right? But what's going on, how is the fiscal state of your organization? Are you working through a really huge deficit? Did you lose a major funder? Just being honest and open about that. Two more things. I think demonstrating a willingness to innovate and collaborate. Some organizations, and this might be maybe being open to collaboration or joint initiatives. I think that's really being flexible, I think is important. The last thing I would say is when you're talking with companies and folks like myself, we tend to leave I call them breadcrumbs, like clues that lead you someplace to kind of what we're interested in. And sometimes we try to make them obvious. Sometimes they might come across as subtle, but be curious. That's really the message, is be curious. There's really no bad question to ask. And if you have a thought and it's impulsive, just ask. There's no wrong question. And I think one of the things I see time and again is people hold back. They're polite. They might have a question, and I kind of see it on their face, and then there's silence. So, to anyone listening who has a meeting coming up with a company, be curious. And questions are great. They show interest and engagement and preparation. We like curious people.
I think that's a nice invitation, because so often I think especially we're seeing a lot of staffing change in the nonprofit sector. So like a new development director, a new executive director feels like they have to come in polished and like ready for the perfect pitch. And instead, that invitation to be human, in conversation, inquire, be curious, be thoughtful and collaborative. But also just that idea of things are not the way that they always were anymore, right? I mean, you just mentioned you're a remote first organization. So much has changed in the past 5 years. More has changed in the nonprofit sector in the past 5 years than I think my entire career in the sector, that I think people are scared to say that something has changed. We hear this all the time from executive directors, development directors, like, what are we going to do? We lost this big grant and, it changes our programming and we have all these people that invest in that program. I'm like, tell people that. That is an important element to share that burden, get creative, think collaboratively outside the box. So I appreciate the invite in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really tough time, and there is still a lot of shame and fear and stigma about being transparent.
Yeah.
And the wrong time for me to be hearing about an organization in dire straits is when it's in the Oregonian. If we've been a supporter for 30 years, and we're reading, that an organization is launching an emergency
the ship is sinking
fundraising campaign.
Yes.
We're like, why didn't someone just reach out to us quietly and say we need help? Or engage us sooner. It still happens. And I do think there's pressure on leaders in the sector, the nonprofit sector, to present as things are fine. Everything's fine. We're perfect,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's okay. We're all human, and we all are facing challenges and threats and hardship and transition and, artificial intelligence and, everything.
All the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technology happening fast. I mean, so
Technology.
many things.
Yeah.
So you don't just want to hear from folks one time a year about things for their event. Our nonprofit friends think talking to you more than once a year is bothering you.
Yes.
So I want to bridge this space for people and talk practically about what it looks like for that partnership, meaning your schedule is full of meeting with people all the time. So me as a nonprofit person feeling like, God, I don't want to bug him. I don't want to but this is information he should have, or I want to give him this update, or I want to make sure he knows about, practically, what should that look like for me? This is not me trying to open the floodgates for people to buy Speltz, but to have them understand as a human being on the other side of the table that I'm actually in relationship with. That's what we're getting at here, folks. Be in relationship with your corporate friends. What does that look like for you on a daily basis? How are you seeing that information, or how are you in relationship with your nonprofit organizations that you're supporting? What can that look like as a partnership?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and I think a lot of people really wrestle with when does information sort of warrant me pushing it out to somebody, at one of your corporate supporters. I tell people, think of it as sort of a portfolio approach. There is the passive information that's going out your door. Maybe you do a monthly newsletter.
Yeah.
And I'm glancing at that and looking at the headlines. Of course, I'm going to notice if our company's mentioned in there, our CR logo, or some of our employees, which is great. So most organizations are pushing information out, and I receive hundreds of these.
So make sure that you are on their newsletter list, please.
That's a really easy. That's a really easy thing to do.
And it gets skipped a lot, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too. For example, yesterday I was at a going away party for a colleague at a peer company that was retiring, and guess what? There were 15 development professionals at that meeting. So in a small community like the metro region we live in, it's very easy for me to bump into nonprofit leaders and fundraising professionals at events, casual events, a music concert, the grocery store, you name it. I see them all over. And that's a really nice way just to catch up if there's a minute or two. I think...
So when I see you shopping eggs, I should say hi.
Absolutely. Oh, for sure. For sure. Maybe not ask me if the... proposal we've got a decision to share.
Have some tact. Have some tact at the
Are
grocery
you
store.
tracking all those? You know them offhand?
Well, some yes, and then there are some that someone else on the team might be working on, and I might honestly have no idea where we are on it. I think the other thing is look for opportunities to bump into these folks at other events, and when you see them, come over and say hi.
Yeah.
That's there's no harm in doing that, and just bumping into someone casually in events a really perfectly wonderful place to have a touch. I call it a touch opportunity.
Yeah.
And just to check in.
Yeah.
And maybe talk about something personally or whatever's going on. I always appreciate those and see those. I think one of the things I always panic about is because we juggle several hundred organizations in our head. You talked about a lot of people movement and a lot of personnel transition. My big terror is always forgetting someone's name.
Oh,
I'm always racing, and so many people are kind to just reintroduce themselves, even though they may have met me 5 times. But I haven't seen them maybe in a year. So I think it's okay. And the other thing you could do is kind of learn the communication preferences of some of
Yeah.
the folks
Yep.
in your life. I interestingly have some people that really only communicate with me through text.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that happened.
Yeah.
To a couple on Facebook Messenger, and I'm like, oh, I don't like Facebook Messenger or LinkedIn. So I'll try to move people or put people over into email, which is
Yeah.
easier for me because then I've got a record of it and I can search for it and get back to people.
I think that like sort of stigma around I have to be perfect, it has to be polished, takes away the human element of it.
Yeah.
And yet we are in partnership and relationship.
Yep.
And I think that the organizations that are thinking outside the box as often as they can and saying yes to invitations and showing up in community. I think there is this old idea that nonprofits are competing, therefore like I would never show up at their event. And yet when I see nonprofits supporting each other, it raises everyone's profile. And so I appreciate the sort of everyday invite, right?
I agree with that. And I think some of the most powerful, let me give you an example of the point I'm trying to make. I was invited to do principal for a day for an organization.
Amazing.
And I followed a school leader, and I won't name the school. And this person's no longer in that role, but one of the first things we did was stop by school. And the Multnomah County did a surprise inspection of their kitchen and found some issues while I was there. Then we were in a staff meeting and there was a really hard personnel topic that I was there to hear about. And it was really uncomfortable and squishy. And I was like, oh God, how did I pick this? And I had a nice lunch planned with this guy during this day. And we ended up eating, these awful Fred Meyer sandwiches out of a bag because his life is very hectic. He's kind of moving from one fire to another during the day. Another, he had to go back to school because a student had brought a knife into class.
Oh,
and
no.
There's a whole protocol around that. And he was really embarrassed and like, oh my God, are they going to cut off their support?
Gosh.
The truth is seeing real authentic, what people's lives are really like, that's really the best education you can, and the best way you can show up in a partnership is letting go of that veneer and having the courage to just bring your whole self to the partnership.
The polish is never
ways.
as good as the authenticity.
Absolutely. And, I've seen people, the meeting just happens to be on the worst day of their life. Something's happening at home. Something's really troubling them at work. And it's been nice to say, are you all right?
Right.
Just having a check-in. And sometimes it's been me. And folks have said, are you okay today? And I was like, no, I'm working through something really hard. And, and this is what's happening. And it's nice to just be able to be human with people.
Yeah. Well, I think that
in fact, that might just be the point.
It is. I think so.
I think we talk about relationship at the base of all of this all the time, but that's a function of relationship, right? Is that I get to see you in 3D and you get to see us in 3D. And in fact, we might more clearly build our case to support one another that way.
Well, and when we see each other that way, we trust each other, right?
So, absolutely.
You mentioned before we met today, you mentioned that giving can look a lot of different ways. So what does giving look like beyond the dollar in the corporate sector?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really important topic, and no two companies are the same.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
For example, one of the things that's kind of a hallmark of our culture is board service.
Oh, yeah.
Our senior leaders are required to be on a nonprofit or civic board at the standard, and so that's a big piece of how we show up beyond cash. Now, cash is included in those relationships, of course, but our people are our most treasured asset. We're an insurance and financial services company, so we don't make anything I can hand to you or show you in the studio today. But we have really smart people that market and sell and service these incredible financial security products that are really, really important. We also have real estate. So we have a building in downtown Portland that used to have employees in it and now is a rental opportunity. So we have leasable space, and it's been fun talking to nonprofits about that
very
space.
Cool. Yeah.
And again, every business is going to be different about how they go through that. But I definitely, this is another place where people can be really curious, and people can just say, hey, what do you got around here besides cash? Or a foundation grant. I think that skills-based volunteerism comes into the conversation again. So an organization might come to us and say, hey, we're really struggling with this project related to IT. Do you think you might be able to put some people together on a small team and help us solve for this?
That's cool.
So those are some of the things that come to mind.
I'm having this dream right now of your building being filled with nonprofit partners, or what a powerful impact that could have if everyone was in a cross collaborative space like that.
It would be, and it's space in downtown, and it can make sense for some organizations. For other organizations, the layout of the building might not work.
Right.
They may need to be ground level, where they can be easily accessible. But for some organizations, especially small and medium sized organizations, it can work out really well.
Yeah.
The standard nonprofit hub.
There you go. I know. My mind's racing.
I know, mine too.
What can you give maybe a couple of more concrete ideas for folks who are still like, I don't know how we fit beyond those, in those ideas beyond the dollar? What are some ways you've approached relationships with organizations that have been a little bit more out of the box?
Yes.
Not that beyond the dollar is out of the box, but I think getting people to think about, I need this X dollar sponsorship from them and I can't think of anything else. And yet you need so many other things.
Right.
What can that look like?
I've been thinking about this question. One of the things, I know we're going to talk about events a little bit later in the pod, but we had an organization that came to us, and several actually, more and more as we kind of get deeper into the times we're in, but feeling like they want to get out from under an annual fundraising event. So the organizations have said, we would like to do away with our gala. Would you continue to support us and help us make this change? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
We want to be that flexible partner that helps an organization forge a new path for itself in terms of contributed income. So I can think of about a half dozen organizations that have come to us and said, this evening gala is it's not delivering the kind of results that we need. And we're moving to a very different model. Will you help us? Will you give us 1 to 3 years of bridge funding to help get it off the ground and make it successful?
Amazing.
Which I think is very out of the box.
Yeah.
We do. I mentioned earlier, we really want to be flexible. So we'll listen to an organization say, what can we really do for you right now that would be most helpful? Really help you meet some needs where you're at.
Yeah.
So we're open to a lot of different things. The non-gala support is just one idea that comes to mind.
Well, and this is where the honesty component benefits you, right?
Yeah.
Coming in and being clear about where you are, where you're trying to go, show that you've thought about that a little bit and have some strategic lens on where you want to arrive. And these are some of the components that would be really helpful to get there.
One more example comes to mind. We do sponsor some events where there is a volunteer auctioneer, someone that just once a year gets on that mic and starts yelling out bidder numbers, and
never as good.
It's never as good. And we have gone to these organizations and said, we really think a good partner will ask us, if we were the presenting sponsor or a major sponsor, what did you like about our event? What do you think we could do differently or should do differently? And we have given some organizations the feedback that they're ready for a professional auctioneer.
Yeah.
Someone that can really perform at a very high level in that room and understand who's there and hit a goal. and also not waste people's time.
Yeah.
And have paid for that
That's
or a portion
dreamy.
of that fee.
Yeah.
So sometimes, feedback from a funding partner coupled with cash
Yeah.
and support and say, hey, we believe in this so much, we'll help pay for it.
It makes such a big difference. It's
Yeah.
such a value add. We've seen organizations, even through their corporate partners, get help with mergers and acquisitions, get help with their banking investments, their real estate investments. We're working with an organization recently that had a bunch of properties that got left to them in estate plans, and their corporate partners helped them map a path forward of what to do with those and how, like, long term it could benefit the organization. So I think thinking out of the box is an important element. Beyond corporate giving, you are a donor and a participant in events. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk about all those. We will be right back. Your fundraising event doesn't have to start when guests walk into the room. It starts weeks before, when supporters see your story, remember your mission, and feel invited to be part of something bigger. That's where Feather comes in. Feather helps nonprofits promote events, reach the right audience, and keep supporters engaged with digital ads, email, automation, and reporting, all in one platform. Trusted by us at Swaim Strategies to promote our events, Feather has helped us to fill the room, raise more, and prove what worked without the guesswork. Visit feather.co to learn more. feathr.co to learn more.
Welcome back. We're here with Bob Speltz from The Standard. In addition to The Standard, he is just a philanthropic-minded human.
Yes.
With all of his time and all of his resource, and we appreciate him deeply. Bob, you go to more events than we do, and we plan events.
I go to many of your events.
Yeah. Thank you
That
for
as
doing
well.
that.
Yes.
Talk to us about the nonprofit industrial event complex.
Yeah, this we could do a whole pod
We
on
absolutely
events,
could.
and if you ever want to come back, have me back, I would be happy to do about it. Happy to come back and talk about it. You want to chat a little bit about what makes a great event, or
Yeah.
I think, the landscape too. I mean, we're kind of on a tear right now and we were getting to this before the break, like organizations should be taking a look at their events, right? And
assessing
should
what's
really
working.
assess what's working and not. And I think there's been this layer over things of must have events, and we've all gone to the events that were like, ooh, that was a lot of money and not a lot of money at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, money in, not money out. And is that working for them? And so from where you sit, sort of what does that sort of events machine look and feel like for people?
I think this sector really struggles with event fundraising.
Yeah.
And events are trying to do a lot of things for a lot of organizations. It might be the only time in a year when their most important stakeholders and supporters and potential supporters are under the same roof. And we really saw the impact of this during COVID, right?
Yeah.
When these events, these in-person events were constricted and just stopped happening.
Yeah.
How important that community is for mutual support and then financial support. When you couple the journey out of COVID with inflation, and the reality that the cost to do these events has jumped probably 30 to 45%.
Yes. Yeah. The
Suddenly,
food costs alone.
the food costs alone, and then when you look at labor and AV and everything it takes to make a really wonderful event, the business model for event fundraising has changed.
Yep.
Now a $5,000 table of 10 may not make a whole lot of sense. There might not be a lot of net opportunity for an organization. So you're seeing table sizes shrink, which also has some good, some pluses and minuses. So for a company, instead of 10 seats, they may now have 4 seats.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's a good thing in most instances. because it allows the company to focus on who are the four people we really want at that event, or six, or do we want to split a table with another company? I think the other thing is people's time has become very, very precious, and people are making a lot of hard choices about how many events they will go to, how many events they can tolerate, and the demands being made on people's time has really, I think, hurt or impacted the choices they're making. So, what we're seeing. As we attend and sponsor many events, is smaller rooms, hopefully more curation, in terms of who is there, and hopefully higher average gift per person.
The smaller room is something that we've been focused a lot on right now, the specific curation of who and the impact that can have, and the design and intentionality behind the event. I think nonprofits so often are in a game of comparison of well, they had 500 people, we need 500, or they served chicken, we're serving chicken, but reality is that when organizations really focus in on very specific message and intended audience, the impact can be double the result and half the cost. So we've been really encouraging folks to think the big room isn't the benchmark, right? The moving of your mission, the giving at the event, the impact of what people leave there with. You're in so many of these rooms. I'm curious about your just personal experience in the room. What is it that moves you, makes it feel like a good event to you, moves you to give, moves you to be more involved or invested? What are those elements that you feel like these are the key important things that people should be thinking about?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and I spent a little time thinking about it, and I have a list, and I'm sure I will add a few more things. I start with, are there human beings at that organization that mean something to me, that matter to me? Do I have a relationship with that executive director, that development director, that program staffer? Am I close to somebody on that board? So if there's that human connection, that human pull. Is someone going to notice that if I'm not there? Or, and conversely, who's there that I really want to support and see and look them in the eye? This is, one of the most important nights of their lives professionally. And I want them to know I'm showing up for them with my colleagues from the Standard. On a basic level, I like events that start and stop on time.
Yes.
And, if you said I was going to be out at 9 and it's 10,
I'm frustrated.
Yes.
Yep.
One of the things I'm noticing now is the start, the runtime of a program starting really, really late when it could have started a half hour or 45 minutes earlier.
Yep. Yeah.
I think, yes, it's nice to have some conversation time at dinner and during a cocktail hour, but when everyone's sitting down.
I think that that's actually a rubber band effect post-COVID.
Yeah.
Because I've witnessed that too, and I've experienced that in the room where I'm why are we starting so late? And I'm realizing so many of our organizations got feedback right after the pandemic of we needed more time together. We needed more time to socialize.
But we're done now. We're caught up. Yeah. So let's go.
They added more time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's feeling like this is too long.
It's dragging on. A lot of the things I will say are things that I've learned from attending your events over the years. And I know it's a lot of it is the ideology and your sort of playbook, right? The playbook that I've had the opportunity to witness and study, if you will. I think I love events that bring an element of surprise and delight. Mm-hmm. And that can be something big. That can be something really small, right?
Yeah.
Tiny. It could be something at my place setting that's super thoughtful, like a little message from an 8-year-old kid. Or it could be somebody coming out and doing a really outrageous, cabaret act, spray painted in gold.
I was at that event.
Yes, I was at that event too. I love a moving, engaging testimonial.
Yeah.
A mission moment story. If I hear people crying in the room, that means it's working.
Yeah.
if I'm feeling something, if I'm feeling a connection to your mission, then you're hitting it out of the park.
Yeah.
Those are the big, I think, all the things. I also love a call to action.
I was gonna say, I've noticed you love a match.
I love matches too. Absolutely. And I do think they work.
Yeah.
And, for companies, I think it's a really easy way to help that boost the results of that special appeal. It's also just a great way to get your name out there.
Yeah.
Having John Wells say our company name 6 times is great in a room full of 400, really important people, wonderful people. That is, you really can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah. Agree.
Let's go back to the idea of board service.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's one of those things that is undervalued in the way that it can actually cement relationships with partners, but also bring in quality leadership for an organization. Can you talk about that and sort of what that means for an organization to be able to have their folks serve on boards in the community?
Yeah, this is another topic we could do a whole separate conversation on.
Absolutely.
But I think board service is a wonderful way to build long-lasting, deep relationships with your corporate partners.
Yeah.
What you take, they're so mutually beneficial. For the nonprofit, you have the opportunity to have the skills, the experience, the know-how of a business professional who's going to come in and listen and ask questions and share their perspective and grow and better understand your mission and, help you do all the things that a board needs to do. Mm-hmm. And they will also become your advocate. You're the person that could come to the corporate giving and foundation teams, the community relations teams inside that company and say, this organization means a lot to me. I need us to step up our partnership. I want to, chair the gala. I want to be part of the capital campaign. I'm going to be the board chair. I'm the board treasurer. It's just a wonderful relationship. And for the employee, it's an opportunity for them to step outside their day-to-day grind of work and really understand, something bigger than themselves and issues going on in their community, what's really happening in the community around them when they're not working, 24/7. It gives them an opportunity to share what they know, share their expertise, their generosity, and then they can also bring their family and their contacts and friends into the mission around the table of that organization, which is wonderful. And we just see so many benefits that go both ways from board service. I tell people, board service for me was the MBA that I never went to school for.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
It is a marvelous opportunity to grow as a leader, as a human being. I just cannot say enough good things about it. And in saying that, you want to make sure that company is providing that employee some training and some grounding and context and background, and get them as prepared as you can to take on that assignment. And then, have some accountability, make sure they're actually showing up, doing the work that a board member signs on to do, attending meetings, all of that sort of thing.
I think you all do that really well. The Standard's really invested in making sure that their employees show up as good board members. You also personally are on and have been on so many boards. So you see the good, bad, and the ugly and get the MBA experience of learning the leadership role. We, on the other side of the table, work with the nonprofits that so often are sort of pulling their hair out around, I can't get my board engaged. I can't get them invested. And my experience has been when I'm on a board, oftentimes there is a gap in expectation. The nonprofit may have an expectation of the board and in how they're engaging their board. So I'm curious, when you've seen like really good, really functioning, really like involved boards, what is it that the nonprofit was doing, the like staff member, to help the board function well?
That is a great question. And I think my remarks are probably more focused towards the executive director, but really it
Sure.
could be any,
Absolutely.
it could
Yeah,
be any
absolutely.
staff member in that boardroom. I think the first and the really most important one is clarifying the expectations that you have for your board early and often. And this is really the role that an executive director has.
Yeah.
Is like, here, here's where I need you to show up. And it might be the budget. I'm going to a board meeting today where the board will be approving a budget. Hugely important role for a board.
Yeah.
That's one of the 5 probably most important things that they do. I think the other thing nonprofit leaders can do is make sure that their board members have meaningful work.
Yes.
That they're showing up and they're not just there to hear endless
report out.
reports.
Yeah.
But what meaty discussion topics are you having your board focus on? What do you have them doing? Is the meeting all just reporting and they're they might be casting 3 votes? What discussion? How are you using that board?
Yeah.
I think communicating during or between meetings is really important. That formal or informal communication that takes place, updates. An executive director received an award or some big media mention. Keeping in touch with that board frequently. And then I think the other thing that comes to mind for me is making those meetings interactive and fun and not just one way. And that can be tricky. And finally, a couple more things. Recognizing the contributions of board members.
Yeah.
And this might be something for the board chair, but also for the executive director. I mean, if the board actually gets something right or does something really well,
Yeah.
like thank them for them, call them out. If there's a particular board member who really went above and beyond,
Yep.
make a mention of that. I think nonprofits have to think about how they invest in board development. What training, what information, what special resources do board members need on particular topics?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Comes in there. And also the last one, probably the most important, is building a culture of accountability and nonprofit leaders and board members holding each other accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of that
I've
shows
seen
up.
that impact in organizations you've been involved with, both when it comes to accountability for the board around things like a capital campaign or an event, the reporting out, you as a board leader frequently are the one who is lifting up and reporting out of who secured what effort has been made, who's making what calls. And I think as a board member, you see this sort of, it draws people in because you're doing the highlighting and lifting and peer accountability. But my personal experience on boards has often been that if the executive director is taking time to get to know me as a board member and ask what I want to be involved with, and then when I say, oh, I'd love to help you with that, they engage me in it, it's a game changer. I've been with other organizations where it's like, here's your packet.
Yep.
Here's the binder you need or the booklet. We're meeting on Zoom. It's a report out. It's not a call in. And every time I volunteered to do something, no follow-up occurs. And so I never see where my place is in the organization. And we've been encouraging a lot of organizations when they think about their events and gathering, one of your most basic gatherings is bringing your board together. Zoom is nice for occasional check-ins, but take time to actually sit together too and see each other and be in community together.
Yeah, I think this is where those informal visits between executive directors and board members really come in handy.
Yeah.
I just 2 years ago stepped off a board where the executive director was just cycling through board members using lunches. Lunches were his opportunity to have all of that kind of connection and communication, and he was constantly checking in, asking, are you happy on the finance committee? Well, sort of, but and asking questions and probing and always trying to find out what was going on in this person's personal life, their professional life, and just, again, sort of mining, if you will, panning for gold, looking for opportunities, listening for cues about how to deepen the engagement.
Yeah.
Maybe how to grow the personal giving of that board member. What are they doing the things, as I said, are they doing the things that they want to do and that make their heart sing? And I think a lot of executive directors, to your point, are very hands-off about that.
Yeah.
And are either aren't comfortable doing that or feel awkward doing it. But that personalizing, I think, can really, really increase board engagement.
Yeah.
Well, when we're hands off with our board, why would we expect anything else in return?
Right.
And so I think we're manifesting this chasm between, like, oh, I can't get my board to blah, blah, blah. And the board's over here going like, we're doing all this stuff and we're not getting any feedback. So I do think, again, I'll be the broken record, at the core of that's a relationship.
Yeah.
And I think from where you sit, Bob, you have functions that are part of your role at the company you work for. Board service and sort of in these relationships with nonprofits, but you take them very personally. Mm-hmm. And you have a very strong personal commitment to the community you live in and facilitating your role to improve that. And so I'm wondering if you can talk about you as a donor. And you donate to so many nonprofits. Can you think about the last really meaningful gift you made, something meaningful for you, and tell us what the nonprofit did to make sure that was celebrated?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great.
So
that's
that
a really
you
great
stayed
question.
engaged as a donor.
I'm thinking of an organization, a literary organization that I was involved with for over a decade, and as we were engaging in a capital campaign, I knew I was going to be asked, and I happened to be the board chair and was on the campaign committee. So I knew I'd be among the first 15 people to be asked. And I really loved their approach. It was actually a combination of two meetings, which at first seemed really weird to me. But the first meeting did not end in a capital campaign ask. It really was like informative and almost more of like an interview. And then in the second conversation, they came back with an ask, which of course was an ask of many more dollars than I would have ever imagined. But they were doing their job.
Yeah, absolutely.
By getting me to think outside the box. And what I really admired was the thoughtful approach, the real donor-centered, human-centered approach to the work. I think they did a really beautiful job on the case statement. For some donors, that's not terribly important, and for other donors, they read every word of it and agonize and use that information. It really drives decision making. I just think that, that process coupled with engaging, consistent, interactive conversations and opportunities to lend a hand, be on the board, be a volunteer at one of their events, host a table, all these different touch points. It really culminated in a decision, that myself and my husband made. We're like, let's do something that is going to make a difference. Yeah. And yes, it's going to take 5 years to pay off, but that's okay because, that's okay. And it resulted in the largest gift our family had ever made to any one project. And it was, frightening, but also immensely gratifying to be alive to see that, new building and be one of hundreds of people there to celebrate it. And it was a combination of all the things that organization really did right. Yeah. And they were big things and small things. But it was really just everywhere was the human touch.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that the organizations that you are involved with, boards, corporate giving, as a donor, you continue to have a sense of pride and ownership, even like that particular organization. I know you're not on the board anymore. I was recently having lunch with you, and we were talking about another organization where your board service had come to an end. And yet all the updates you gave me about those organizations included the
Yes.
statement of we are working on or we are doing.
Yeah.
And it's just a sort of a testimony to the impact that you have in this community and your commitment to serving the community. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Well, we are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to step in the fundraising elevator with Bob Speltz. We'll be right back.
Change. It doesn't happen on its own. It happens on purpose. Thanks to nonprofits that believe a brighter future is not just possible, but needed and deserved. And that connect people to causes and turn moments of generosity into movements. That's why Bloomerang is built for purpose. To raise the bar on what's possible and help every act of giving lead to more. Because when the bottom line is a better world, no goal is too lofty. Bloomerang, built for purpose.
Welcome back. We are here with Bob Speltz, and we're going to get in the fundraising elevator. So, Bob, this is the question we ask every guest. We invite you into the fundraising elevator where we're all headed up to offer that last bit of advice as the doors are closing, the hot tip for our nonprofit superheroes out there so that they can also continue to head up. What would that be?
I think, since we've been talking a lot about corporate giving and corporate philanthropy and interaction with companies, my advice is just ask. Never be afraid. Don't hold yourself back. Don't worry about whether it doesn't feel like it's a polite question or not. Don't miss the opportunity to ask that question, especially if you're in person with somebody, if you're lucky enough to secure an in-person visit or even a virtual meeting. There really are no bad questions. Trust me. I've been asked everything you can imagine. Take that opportunity. If you've got the opportunity and you've got 30 minutes with somebody, ask that question that is burning in your mind, that question, your partner told you in the morning, don't forget to ask that question, or a colleague at the office. Just give yourself the gift of putting it out there.
Well, thank you for letting us ask you lots of questions. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you coming and sharing your wisdom and just being a true superhero. In the nonprofit space, I feel like so often we're looking to connect folks together. And I know that you said, find out how you like to connect when you're talking to your corporate partners. I do not want to bombard you, but I do know that you all have a great resource on your website about how you show up in community. And if folks want to find you, is there a way that they can connect and get in touch?
Yes, there is. I think, if they want to get in touch with me, find me on LinkedIn. I am the only Bob Speltz on the LinkedIn site. That's an easy way. And you can follow me. Don't have to worry about me getting around to approving anything. I think LinkedIn is a marvelous tool to learn about people in philanthropy and in the nonprofit sector. I use it all the time myself.
Yeah.
And if you're curious to learn more about our corporate giving, our foundation, our CSR activities, you can learn more about our company at standard.com.
Perfect. We'll provide a link to standard.com and to your LinkedIn. Bob, thank you for all that you do in the nonprofit space, and thank you for joining us today on the podcast.
Thank you, Sam and Kristen. It's been great.
Thank you.
The Fundraising Elevator is produced by Swaim Strategies at the studios of the AV department. The program is produced and directed by Steve Osborne, with audio engineering and original music by Dwayne Anderson and Heidi Christensen. Video production by John Collier. Graphic design by Pendulum Creative Group. And voiceover by Josh Boykin.
Hey y'all, it's Kristen. Before we leave, I want to ask for your help to make the podcast grow. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please like, follow, and subscribe to the Fundraising Elevator. And if you're getting a lot out of the show, share it with a friend. Leave us a review. These things help make sure that the podcast continues heading up. Thanks so much for being here and tuning in.
Are Are you ready to engage supporters and grow your base with your own podcast? Then let us introduce you to our partners at the AV department in Portland, Oregon. In addition to delivering exceptional live event audiovisual production and videography, they also have a top-tier production studio and an expert team ready to take your content ideas to the next level. Contact the AV department to schedule a consultation and start bringing your podcast vision to life.